guess I haven't enabled you enough yet today for Tip Test Tuesday, Pen Test Tuesday, Stroking Tuesday. I don't know, we haven't figured quite what we're going to call this yet, but regardless, I am going to be looking at the Koi Watercolor Brush pens. Now, these were sent to me by Sakura of America, who makes them, just to test out. Again, I've said this before on other products they've sent me. They did not ask me to make this video. They are not paying me to make this video. All they wanted was for me to try them. These are all of my own personal opinions. Just a disclaimer. They sent me the 24 pack of colors and the 6 pack of grays. Now, I looked them up on Amazon, and from what I saw, there's 48 total colors. So this set, there's like a 48 pack, which is not this set, and there's a colorless blender that is available separately. On Amazon, at the time of this recording, the 24 pack retailed for about $27, and the pack of grays for about $11, which is interesting if you think about it, because there's 6 pens in here and there's 24 in here, and that math doesn't quite work out. The information about these pens: they are blendable, odorless, water-based, achieve fine, medium, or bold brush strokes by changing the nib texture. They are dye-based inks that blend easily to create a multitude of hues. The ink is not water-resistant and not fade-proof. I'm going to test out all of the rest of this later, but I'm curious about the odorless, because I don't make it a habit to sniff my pens. Some of you may know that I worked as a sign artist for a long time, and I use Sharpies a lot, and I'm at the point now where unless I'm using Sharpies a lot in one day, that smell doesn't even bother me, which is probably not good for my brain cells. So I want to test these, see if they smell. I don't smell anything. But I also have allergies right now, so there may be a smell that I just missed, but I don't think that they have. I think that claim may be correct. One of the reasons I was super excited to test these out is because the tips are very similar to Tombow nibs, just a little smaller, and the Tombows have been my favorite pen to practice with. So I was really hoping when I tried these that they would suit that. So we'll give them a test. Let's take a look. Let's do some testing, shall we? Here's the red one. I will tell you that these feel really light. Like there's not a lot of heaviness in your hand already, I'm noticing. I'm not really sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. That's just something I'm noticing. So the tip looks very comparable to a Tombow tip, just smaller, I think. Yeah. They look very similar to each other, just different size. So I guess we can test the brush size out compared to a Tombow. Let's do a heavy downstroke and a light upstroke. That felt really good on my hand, I will tell you. And here's the Tombow next to it. So you'll notice you can get a fatter stroke with the Tombow because it's a bigger nib, but very similar feeling. I'm just gonna do a few up and down strokes to kind of get the feel of it, but I'm already, just that first stroke, I was like, fuck yeah. So here we go. Let's try my hardest letter in brush lettering. Let's try it, C. Oh, bad start. Let's try this again. I'm getting ink flicked everywhere though. I just noticed that, like, I don't know if you can see in the camera, but there's like little spackles of ink right here. Off of first glance, this is remarkably, for my heavy hand, remarkably easy to use. So that's really cool. Huh. Let's try a word. Let's just do practice. Let's do hello. One of my favorite words to practice with. I like this so far. Nib tests, feeling successful, but like I said, I'm getting little ink spats everywhere. This is on cardstock, by the way. Let's take a few seconds and test out the blending capabilities. We have here orange, and there's a red. I'm gonna pick a different red though. I'm gonna go with this slightly orangier red, just to give that one a break. Okay, so I'm gonna put this on wet, and I'm gonna put this on wet. And I wonder, can I blend it back with the orange? It seems to blend somewhat okay. Now let's see if we try the same thing with a little bit of water. I don't have the colorless blender, but I can give the Tombow colorless blender a try and see if that works. But first we'll start with water, and they're still wet. Blend them in with water. Now that's not really working all that much. I wonder if they dried. too fast. I don't have the Koi Colorless blender, but I do have the Tombow Colorless blender. I can't even talk this morning. So let's give that a shot. Not really. It just sort of didn't do much of anything either. Here's a block though. Let's try this. This is a technique you can use with Tombows. So let's see if it works with this. Let's pick a couple different colors since red and orange are getting played out here. Let's do bright green and this. Let's test these colors first to see what they look like. That's like a tealy kind of turquoisey blue, and there's a green. Okay, so we're gonna take this green on an acrylic block and just scribble some on. And then I'm going to take this blue and I'm going to run it in the green. Ooh, you see that mixed effect right there? And then as you write, it wears off. That's something very similar you can do with the Tombows to mix colors up. And then if you wanted to, you could even go in probably and add like an additional amount to the side. That's pretty cool. So it seems like in a lot of ways these behave like Tombows. I bet too if I took this water brush and swirled it in here, I could paint with them and get a more watery effect. Or I could paint with it and add sort of like a shadow, like not really a shadow because it's lighter, but like a cast to it. Or if I put some water down, and this water has a little bit of a tint to it, but whatnot, and then went over it with this, and then added water, that reacts a lot differently and kind of starts to blend out a little bit. Probably not on cardstock paper though. I'm just experimenting. I don't really know a lot to do with these. But for first impressions, these, if you know techniques with Tombows, I would say that similar techniques can happen with these Koi watercolor brush pens because they're very, very similar in terms of how they react. But I will say that thus far, out of all of my experimentation, the reason I'm loving these already so much is because their brush is so easy for me to control. And you all know, if you've been watching my channel, how difficult it is for me to come across brush pens that are easy, like not just able to be controlled, but easy to be controlled. I'm gonna check and see how these grays play off of each other in terms of color. Get a nice different variation, and then try the colorless blender here. Yeah, not really. Well, I'm gonna do some color testing. We'll start with the 6 grays that I have in the gray pack. I'm going to take a second and just sort of color in this flower with these. Just a little bit. Not being super sloppy. I just want to see the look with the different grays on the stamp. That looks really cool. I have to remember to clean that off though. I think it's got a nice mix of warm and cool toned grays for shading, so that's really neat. I'm gonna start testing the other colors out. We'll start with these guys. These are like the reds, the oranges, like the bright kind of warm tones. Looking at this set, this pink here, they all look true to color, but this, except for this pink, which I guess maybe from the cap, but this pink plays off as more lavender than pink, which I wasn't expecting. So that's not, it's not a bad thing. That's just not what I was expecting. And next I have these like browns and kind of peachy tones and maybe like a dark sort of peachy purple, I guess. But again, we'll see if any of these come off as not so true to color. Take a second to notice. Let's see if I can move the camera a little so you can see it. See this color? These definitely throw off some color, like some color sprinkles. So that's just something to be aware of. If you're working with these, you may want to consider not having anything nearby you don't want to get spatters on. I have these greens and there's a couple of like turquoisey kind of blues that I'm gonna go with. And then last I've got some blues, purples, and the black. Now this color, the cap looks like purple to me, but it comes off more like a dark blue violet. And then there's a navy. So I think that in this set, what I'm seeing is missing really is a nice deep true, like this shade of purple that's not this, like this color but with more blue in it, but not, I don't know, these two colors here look really similar to me, and I would really love a purplier purple, but that's a quibble with this set. All right, these pens fucking rock, for me at least. I'm heavy-handed, and I found the nib exceedingly easy to work with when it came to transitions because it is fat enough to handle my pressure. It like isn't so fat that it's hard for me to control. It was a nice amount of firmness. This is such a sexual conversation. It's a nice amount of firmness, not so firm that it was hard to work with, and definitely not floppy. And I'm just gonna stop with those adjectives now, I think. I did double check the price comparison, and on Amazon you can get a 10-pack of Tombows, the dual brush pens, these puppies, the ones I directly compared them to, for 14 bucks. So these are a better price deal on Amazon, I would say. About the cost of these, you get 20 pens, not 24 pens. However, Tombows are sold at Michael's and you can use a coupon on them, so that changes that. They're not entirely the same. The brush nibs are different sizes, and I do need to color test and see kind of what the comparable colors are and see kind of what, because Tombow has a 96 color line the last I checked, and this was 48 colors. So there is that amount of difference. If you would like to see a video where I more directly compare the two to each other after I've done some more testing with the Koi, you let me know down in the comments, because I would love to compare them, because the Tombows, these guys and these guys, both are now like at the top of my favorite brush pens as a heavy-handed, clumsy ass fucking brush letterer. These pens and the Koi are both thumbs up in my book. The one difference, and it's not really, I mean, aside from the fact that the Tombow has 2 tips and you know, all whatever. But the one thing that I noticed about these pens that I would say is a con is that they spatter. And I don't know if that only happens when they're new and they're still full of ink. If that's just how they are because they're so inky. I don't know. I just know that I got little spatters, especially it was pink and red that spattered the most for me, like on my desk and on my paper. And it was just little bits, and it wasn't tons. It wasn't like I was like flinging paint all over the place, but there was some spattering. So if you're working on something where that could be a problem, you may want to like lay a paper towel down while you're working, like underneath your hand, so it doesn't spatter at you, or maybe not use those, or maybe just incorporate them, or maybe not. I don't know. I could be wrong. This is maybe the second time I've actually really used these. So I'm going to do some more testing, kind of see how the spattering works, because if I do a comparison between like a direct comparison between the Tombows and the Koi, I would like to have some more information on how they spatter. I haven't used the Koi enough to know if that's just a breaking them in thing or not. So that can come in the future. But overall, fuck yeah, I'll recommend these. If you have a heavy hand, give these a shot. There are smaller packs on Amazon. You do not need to go with the 11 billion pack. You can go with it's like a 10 pack or something. There's a smaller size if you want, or you can get the grays if you want to. But you can get less to practice with. But if you are heavy-handed like me and you're struggling to find a brush pen that suits your heavy-handedness, this may be one that will work for you. So if you want to see a Tombow versus Koi watercolor pen throwdown video in the future when I've done some more testing, let me know in the comments. And if you have other pens you'd like me to take a look at for tip test, pen test, whatever we call it Tuesdays, you can let me know about that in the comments as well, and I will do my best. I'm not made of money. Pens don't fucking grow on trees, and you know, when I was in high school I had to walk uphill both ways in the snow with one shoe, but I can try. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.